You're not going to see like 5 in the same plane of section. So that's not the best characteristic, but when you put it all together, the shape and the gorp, you should have had appendix. And these are, of course, lymph nodules. What else did I ask? Oh, what kind of epithelium? Simple columnar. All right, now this one might have been fairer to give you a low mag image alongside. Part of it is that the bulb is getting dim, but we have 2 different kinds of tissue here. So it should let you know that this is what organ? It's pancreas, yeah. And so the structure at A is an acinus. So we're looking for acinus or serous acinus, pancreatic acinus. Would all be good. B is representing what? The islets. And what's a cell that you would find in an islet? A alpha or B beta. Yeah. You can go gamma, even delta, but you can't go epsilon. As far as I know, there's no epsilon. Okay, so what's organ here? It's esophagus. First off, it's the only organ in the digestive tract that's going to have stratified squamous. End of story. The other is the presence of the submucosal gland. So those 2 things together, with the fact that you have skeletal muscle here in the 3rd layer, kind of tells you it has to be esophagus. And what's more, you're going to be in the anterior esophagus because of all the skeletal muscle here. Okay, this is, what did I ask you here? I asked you what the layer at A is. Muscularis mucosa, and the area at B is good old lamina propria, right? Looking for lamina propria. Cell at C. Yeah, that's one of those little details. They are Paneth cells. Paneth or Paneth. I'll be a little lenient on spelling, but it's got to be close enough that I can recognize it. Pizza cells, not going to work. And then what organ are we looking at? All I was looking for was small intestine here. Because you can't know for certain what part of the small intestine you're in. The fact that we don't see any glands here leads us to believe that it's probably not duodenum, but then again, we didn't really get to see enough of the submucosal region. The shape of the villi, those look pretty tongue-shaped to me. So based on the shape, I would think duodenum, but once again, we don't have submucosal glands. Look at the number of goblet cells. So now I'm starting to think it's probably not duodenum, it's probably something a little bit further down the intestine. So the quick answer is you can't tell. So all I was looking for is small intestine.
So you can't know if you put
Okay, so if you said jejunum or ileum, I would say that's okay. If you said duodenum, I'd have to say no, because you cannot know it's duodenum unless you see the submucosal glands. That make sense? All right, so this one, I'm going to start at the back end here. This is, of course, because of this, you know that this is duodenum. These look like finger-like villi to me, so which leads you to believe jejunum, but then again, you've got all these glands here. So this is duodenum. So as far as the layers go, we got muscularis mucosa, submucosa, muscularis externa, externa muscularis, and of course serosa on the outside. Okay, now this is a beautiful image showing what organ? Fundus is more detailed than we needed. This is stomach, right? How do you know where we are in the stomach? Well, you look at the length of the pits, compared to the depth of the gland. And this tells you that we are indeed in the fundus of the stomach. There's a lot of gland and very little pit. So this is, of course, gastric gland. And then I'm just asking you for two of the cell types that are here. Parietal and chief, right? You can see these parietal cells, these lighter staining, swollen, kind of bulge into the space. And then the smaller, more basophilic staining are going to be those chief cells. A product of either cell type. HCl, pepsinogen. Anybody go with intrinsic factor? I don't think I even mentioned it, but intrinsic factor is, I think I mentioned it in lecture, but not in lab. It's important for vitamin K absorption in the intestine, and consequently it's related to that pernicious anemia story that I told you a little bit in lecture. All right, so what's the organ of origin here? Liver. Yeah, I mean, if you're just looking at this by itself, it might be hard to tell. But with the low mag image, where you see the portal triad, you see the central venule, you see this parenchymal tissue, you got to think liver. So the structure at A is what? Central vein or central venule. Structure at B. Those are sinusoids or capillaries. You could just say capillary, or sinusoidal capillary for that matter. And then the parenchymal cell, hepatocyte. Remember, hepatocytes can frequently be binuclear. And if you look at this image and look around a little bit, you'll see quite a few cells that are binuclear. This being one of them, this one being another one, this is another one. So there's quite a few binuclear cells among hepatocytes. All right, so we started with structures on this one. What is structure A? It's a mucus acini, mucus acinus, singular. B would be serous acinus. Tremendous difference in staining, really easy to point out. What is the structure at C? Serous demilune. Yeah, serous demilune.
Can you just put demilune, is that okay?
Half? Yeah. It's a half moon what, though? It's a serous demilune. D would be D for duct. So if you were to describe it further, what would you guess this duct would be? It's probably striated, but you really can't tell unless I gave you a higher mag image.
So any kind of duct, you'll say?
Any kind, well, there's a few answers. You could say intercalated, you could see intralobular. If you were to say secretory duct or interlobular duct, I would have to say no. Okay, so duct, striated duct, intercalated duct, all good. Oh, and then because we got this mixture, it tells you that we're in what gland? Submandibular or submaxillary. Yeah. Final slide is, of course, of a tooth. And I thought that was so obvious that it wasn't going to ask you to identify a tooth. But what is the cell at A? The ameloblast, right? This is laying down the enamel. When the tooth erupts through the gum, through the gingiva, this will be sheared off. And so it's only temporary. Cell at B, odontoblasts, very good. The cavity here at C, dental pulp cavity. And then what is D? Predented. Yeah, a little tricky specific there. This is the dentin. this is the pre-denting. So I was actually looking for pre-denting. Had to say pre. Okay, guys.